Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Boobies.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we are here to talk to you about
Chucky. I don't know.
Chucky.
Oh, were you gonna drum roll it?
Yeah, I was doing a drum roll. Sorry. Child's Play, 1988.
Child's Play,
The original the original Chucky.
Which is just like they should have just named it Chucky.
Yeah, apparently they had some different names in the mix.
Oh, okay.
Like one was batteries not included. That's one of my fun facts.
Oh, okay.
But I think
Starting it
that
off with a fun
a
fact.
Spielberg was like, let me just read the fun fact. So I'm not gonna misquote it.
What if we start with fun facts?
Would
that spoil the movie?
Yeah. This blah 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 blah. The original working title for the film was Batteries Not Included. Before it became known, Steven Spielberg was also making a film with the same title. It was then changed to Blood Buddy before settling on Child's Play. Blood Buddy.
I guess out of those three,
it should have been Bloody Buddy.
Bloody Buddy.
Bloody Buddy.
Child's Play was the safest, I guess, for getting people in the theater.
Yeah.
To watch it, I guess. But even then, it's not like it's a kids movie, so there'd be no reason for it to have to appeal to children, huh? Maybe Bloody Buddy would have been better, actually.
Yeah.
Child's
Bloody
Play
Buddy.
kind of gives it like it's not. That is kind of smart, though. It kind of gives it like it's not going to be a horror movie.
Yeah. And they but then, like, what if parents brought their kids? They're like, wow, look at this new movie about
Dolls.
and then they're like traumatized of all their dolls afterwards.
Spielberg saved it either way, I guess.
Yeah, Batteries Not Included was not. I wonder if that
But
film
only because he was working on. Yeah, like did that movie even never see the light of day? I will look it up. Let's see.
But Child's Play, while you're looking it up, was directed by Tom Holland, but not the Tom Holland of today.
Not our baby Tom Holland?
Not baby Tom Holland. No, he did not do this because I can bet he probably wasn't alive at that point in time. He did it in utero.
It was his spiritual form. That's interesting. I mean, there is a
From
movie
heaven.
called
This movie
Batteries
is from heaven.
Not Included, but it's not. Huh, it's directed by Matthew Robbins. I don't know if there's like maybe Spielberg was a producer or something.
Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so directed by now horror legend Tom Holland and starring Alex Vincent, Brad Dourif, Catherine Hicks, Chris Sarandon, and Dina Manhoff, or Dinah.
I'm not sure.
and lots of other
Well,
people, but those were the top listed cast that I wrote down.
they are a pretty good cast. We had some pretty good acting here. The little kid, he did some, pretty
Yeah,
good acting. Little Andy, very.
Alex Vincent. He during the there's one point where I wrote, "Oh, it's when they're in the when he's in the like psychiatric hospital and
Mhm.
he's like he's coming to kill me and like melts down on the door." I was like,
Yeah,
"Damn.
poor
Damn,
little
Andy,
kiddo.
you're
He was pleading for his
killing
life.
it." Yeah, he
Mhm.
was. And
I
so
love
he did a really good job there.
my favorite part of the whole movie is when the mom's talking to him in the room, like, "Who said that?" And he's like, "Chucky did." And she's like, "You expect me like Chucky?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's sitting right there." Like, and he says it so like I don't know what it was about the way he said it. He's like,
Yeah.
"You dumb fucking bitch, don't you see him there?
Don't
Obviously, he
you?
fucking said it."
He's been
Yeah.
here the whole time.
But we want to go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, we start out with some super intense music, as most 80s horror films did,
Hmm.
to let us know that this would be a suspenseful. Um,
Moment. Yeah.
yeah, and then a chase scene ensues
We got a chase
between
scene.
nope, the Strangler. Sorry,
The
I almost
Lake
said
Shore Strangler.
the Trangler, Lakeshore Strangler, and a detective who we find out later is Detective Norris or Morris.
I think it's Morris. I
Morris.
don't
Okay.
know. I
I
didn't do captions, so
I kept getting it confused, so I just said detective
I
the whole
I just
time.
said detective. It's Norris. It's Norris with an N.
Norris, like Chuck Norris.
Yeah, but
Okay.
do do
But
do do do.
yeah, then they're chasing the strangler
Yeah.
into he ends up going into a toy store
Mhm.
after he gets abandoned by his partner,
Yes,
Eddie.
because Eddie leaves him, and he's like, "Oh, why, Eddie?"
And then he's like, "I'm gonna get you, Eddie."
Yeah. And then he ends up, like you said, going into the toy store, and the detective ends up chasing him in there as well. And he goes in there, and it doesn't take long for there to be basically a
Mhm.
shootout with the law. And what's his face? Detective Norris gets him. He shoots him in the chest.
Yep.
I think well, obviously it's a fatal shot because he's dying and he knows he's dying. So at this point, he starts to do this voodoo transfer spell ritual,
Yeah,
and he
which I
says,
was like, convenient that he knows, like, I
"Voodoo."
thought it was Latin or something at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
And so I was like, he just happens to know a Latin like
Spell or
spell that
something
can put his soul into a doll. Convenient.
that he went
But
into a doll store at that.
yeah. And I mean, thankfully they do explain it later and give it some like context.
Mhm.
Um, but at first I was just like, because I forgot. I forgot how like
He got into the
because
cause
I think I've
quickly.
only seen Chucky once. Like the original Chucky. I think I've seen the
I'm sorry.
iterations of Chucky other
Mhm.
times, but like it had been quite a while since I seen the original Chucky, and so I forgot that they like got into the doll with a like voodoo spell.
Yeah,
That completely I totally forgot.
I have never seen this one before.
Oh, really?
I've never seen like Child's Play, and it's funny because I'm pretty sure I've seen parts of like The Bride of Chucky.
Mhm.
I know I've seen parts of that one for sure, like the majority of it. I haven't seen any of the other Bride like that part because they're like basically there's like Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, and then like the Chucky movies, kind of different storyline. But was I gonna say? Oh my god, yeah, yeah, yeah. My earliest memory of, like, what Chucky was, though, is that I think I was at, like, a cousin's house or something, and I think it's Child's Play 2 or 3, and they go to, like they send him to military school or something, but Chucky, like, does this thing where the boys have to, like, play with, like, fake rifles or whatever, but he puts, like, actual bullets in them, and so whenever they're, like,
Oh.
like, at each other to, like, do all the little kids end up, like, shooting each other
Oh,
at the
wild.
school.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember that
something
one.
like that, but
I did remember, like, Maggie getting, spoiler alert, pushed out the window,
mhm.
um, and
Well, she kinda just fell back and,
yeah,
like,
but I mean, she definitely got, like, smacked in the face with a little hammer, so
yeah.
that
I
would
don't
have
know.
made
I don't
me
know.
go through a window too, probably, but the window
I
was surprisingly weak considering it, like, shattered very quickly, I thought,
yeah.
but
Well, but
I've
she
never
also,
also
like
tried hitting a window.
yeah, we'll have to try that next time.
Okay.
We're at, it's about, what was that? About 8, 9 stories?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
see if I land on
the car.
a car and
The way
die.
the car, like, kinda, like you know what I mean? Like, kinda like a sponge cake.
Oh,
That's what it
yeah.
did. Uh-huh.
Sorry, the screen froze, so I couldn't tell what you were doing. All I saw
Um
was this.
That's exactly what it was. Uh-huh, the
Okay.
entire time. But now we have him and the doll, I guess, and booyah shabuya. And then now we're starting a day with Andy, and he's watching the TV and he's making breakfast, and it's a commercial for a good guy doll. And as he's doing that, getting things ready for his mom's breakfast, which also isn't it his birthday? But he's making her breakfast in bed?
Yeah, it is his birthday, but I think he just was, like,
He's just so
trying
excited.
any excuse to get her up so that way
Yeah.
he could open his presents. But this family, like, hardcore leans into the marketing scheme of the good guys,
Mhm.
because they have good guy cereal, like, he's in his good guy
Yes.
pajamas with his little good guy sneakers, and, like, everything is good guys, except for the country crock butter that he puts half of the tub on to the fucking toast that he's burnt to a crisp, kind of like Chucky does get later. Um,
Foreshadowing.
yeah, and but makes he's making the biggest mess throughout the house as he's going to wake up his mom with the little tray, like the orange juice
Yeah,
sloshing everywhere, the cereal's just like and so
it's
he's just
horrible.
making like the hugest mess. And then he goes and wakes up his mom, and she's like, "What the fuck? It is 6:30 in the morning."
She pops him no, I'm just kidding. No,
She throws
but
him out the window.
she throws yeah, literally, which she should have, but she's just, being a mom and like, "Oh my gosh, and thank
She's
you,"
being
and
such
then
a good mom.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, the patience was so thick.
Mhm.
She had a lot of it to give.
And I'm trying to remember, he's just like, she's like, "It's your birthday," and he's like, "Yada, yada, yada," and then he's like, "Can I open up my presents now?" And
Yeah.
then that's whenever he opens up his presents, and she
There's
gets him
one that,
clothes.
like, because
Oh,
he had
yeah,
just seen the commercial for the Good Guys doll,
yeah,
and so
and the
he
Good
was
Guys
like
Doll commercial is like, perfect for a birthday or any occasion.
yeah, and then he looks over and sees this giant box that is shaped like a doll box would be,
Mhm.
and rather large, just like because this doll is like
Life
half
size.
the size. Yeah, it's like the same size as Andy and
Mhm.
half the size of a normal human. And so he thinks, and you think it's going to be a good guy's doll, but she opens it, or he opens it, and she's like, "Look, it's clothes. These are going to work."
I think I'll have to, like, him them a little bit or take them down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's obviously, as any child would be, just a bit disappointed because it's clothes and not especially a good guy doll.
Yeah.
But she has to be like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know in time enough to budget for it, but we'll get it for you like some other time," essentially.
Yeah. Being
Mhm.
like a super good mom.
Yeah.
Um, and then we kind of cut to her being at work, and she is at a like jewelry counter for a department store,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden her friend Maggie comes up to her and she's like, "There's this guy in the alleyway with that doll that you want. Like, I bet
Scalping
you
it.
we can get it for
Mhm.
real cheap." Yeah. And so then she's like, "Okay, let's go," and abandons her counter, um,
Yeah,
which is
so good
bad.
mom, bad employee.
Yeah.
And
And
then she also follows her friend into an alley where there's someone who could hurt them
yeah, to go pick up a doll from a probably pretty sketch guy.
with their purse
Um,
and with money,
yeah.
cash.
And so she's like, "How much money for it?" He's like, 50. Maggie's like, 10. And he's like, 30.
Okay.
And then she's like, uh, Karen's like, "Okay, I'll take it." But Maggie's like, "Absolutely not. We don't even know if this thing works." And then Karen's like, "Just give me the fucking doll." And because he was like, "Take it or leave it, lady."
Yeah,
And so finally she buys it all for $30, as compared to the 100 that it normally costs, which is nice.
it's a steal.
But
And also, he
unfortunately,
was
this
only
one,
asking 50. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah, but Maggie did have a good point of like, it might not even work.
Mhm.
It might, but unfortunately, this one works too well.
Yeah, just a little bit too much. A little
Little killer instincts in it.
and she takes that doll, brings it home. Andy is like, "I wanna go watch TV, the good guy dolls are on," or good guy dolls, and, she's like, "Well, I've got something better than that," and she gives it to him, and he unboxes it, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's a fucking good guy doll."
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's exactly what he says. And before that, sorry, we learned that Maggie is going to have to
Oh, yeah,
babysit him tonight because Karen's been asked to stay. Like, she could leave at 5 to go pick up Andy, but then has to come back at 7 to
clothes.
close the department store. So that's why Maggie is in the picture right now.
Mhm. Yeah, 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 and then her boss was kind of a douche,
Yeah.
and then, even though she did leave her counter in her station. But also, we have them at home, and then he opens it up and he's like, falling in love with his little doll, and it does the things that it's supposed to. It's like, "Hi, my name's Chucky, and
I'm
I'm
your
your
friend
best."
till the end.
And they do the things. He looks like a happy kid. She's like so proud of herself, like for being a good mom. But then she's like, but now I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
So Maggie's gonna watch you, and Maggie comes. Then we cut to like this movie had a lot of like cut scenes, like just cut twos. Um, and then
Yeah.
Maggie's just there,
M
like taking care of
magically.
him. And he's playing in the living room with the Chucky doll, and like the news is on, and it's talking about how Eddie had escaped from the police, or maybe just not yet. It's just, but it's bringing
No,
something.
it was saying, yeah, that Eddie had escaped.
Okay, yeah, he escaped, and then we see that the little like Chucky head doll moves enough to just look at the TV. Then Andy is telling Maggie that Chucky wants to watch the news, the 9 o'clock news, but she is like, it's time to go to bed, like ha ha ha. And she's trying to get them ready, but then Chucky sneaks over to go watch the news, and she finds him as he's like getting the breakdown of like what had happened with Eddie. And then she gets onto Andy for like leaving Chucky in the living room to watch the news, and he's like, "Bitch, I didn't do that."
Yeah, poor Andy,
Hmm.
because, yeah, Chucky just I would have freaked out had I walked over and, like, even if a little kid was in the room, like, one of my dolls was there sitting watching the TV that just all of a sudden turned on, like, I would have been like, "No, that's still suspicious." That
Hmm.
would have freaked me out, but maybe it's because 'cause I've seen too many horror movies. Oh.
Sorry
Oh,
about that.
puppies. It's okay.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continued to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Elevate your experience with Grinco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grinco Science, take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at grincoscience.com.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I had to mute it. I had to tell
Yeah,
them to like chill for a little bit.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, then so Aunt Maggie is like sitting there and she's kind of like getting on to Andy and
Mhm.
he's just all he's doing is brushing his teeth and he's getting punished for not doing anything.
Yeah.
Um, but then the door like she puts him to bed. She's like, "Okay, like get under the blankies." He gives Chucky a kiss, which I was like, "Ah!"
He's in love with
Um,
Chucky, which is,
well, it's just a cute
his,
little kiss on the cheek, yeah.
he doesn't know that there's a evil
Serial murderer
entity
living
residing in
inside
there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm And then that's whenever at that point, do.
The doorknob, like, we get a shot of the doorknob twisting, and then we are watching Maggie reading on the couch, and then we see from the little hallway behind her something running, and she sees it too,
hmm
and is like, "What the fuck?" And so she's, like, looking off for Andy, and she's, like, calling for him and walking throughout the house yelling, "Andy," and she sees that his bedroom door is open and that for some reason the front door is, like, blocked off or maybe because he unlocked it and was on
hmm
the chair, but for some reason there was a chair in front of the front door. So
Okay.
I don't know if he, like, was going to unlock
Yeah.
it, move the chair to, like, get out the house or something,
Maybe
um, but, like, then got kinda caught in the act.
that
So
might be what he was trying to do. Yeah, to go
yeah,
take care of Eddie, because then she like finds him or whatever, or doesn't find him, but she's like, stop. Then
she
now she's moving around the house, and then she calls, what's her face, Helen, and she's like, hey, well, one, she's like raising suspicion, but then she's like, whenever Helen starts asking questions, she's like, oh no, you stop being a worry wart. Like, it's everything's okay, you
Yeah,
know.
because Karen it's Karen. Um,
Karen, I said that right.
Karen calls her and she, like, jumps at the phone call because she's, like,
Yeah,
right next to the phone
yeah.
and, like, turns around, grabs the phone, and is like, "Hello?"
Uh,
And seems so scared, and so Karen's rightfully like, "Well, what's going
what?
on?"
Yeah.
And then she is just pretending that everything's okay.
Oh yeah, because she doesn't want to freak out her at all. And
But, like,
then
right before this, she had found sugar or flour spilled
flowers.
all over the place.
So obviously something weird is happening.
Yeah, and
Um,
then she's, like, looking back behind, she hears something as she's looking at the floor and trying to clean up the flour, and she, like, sees this plant kinda move, and they, like, kind of fake us out with this plant because she goes, picks it up, and then it, like, zooms in on nothing, um, which I thought was kind of humorous, but
yeah,
they faked us out, and then she turns around and gets a hammer to the eye, successfully sending her through the window.
yeah. She just
Um,
falling right out and right on top of a car.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, very unfortunate outcome for Maggie. I liked Maggie. She was
She
feisty.
she was. She didn't seem like she took any crap from anybody
Yeah.
unless it was Chucky. Yeah. And so the mom then is now getting off the bus. She's on her way. She's, getting home and she sees that there's these cops and like all these things, a hubbub, outside of the house apartment. And then she goes up and she's getting in and they're like, don't get in, don't come in here. And she's like, this is my place. And she gets in and she's talking to Detective Norris. And that's whenever he's like, brings her aside and he's like, we need to tell you something. And then he's just like, Maggie's dead.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
Yeah.
what? And he's like, Maggie's dead. And she's like, what? And she's like, fell out of, she didn't say she jumped, right? He just said that she
She
fell.
fell, yeah, fell
Yeah.
out of the window.
Uh-huh.
And like at first they had little Andy kind of deliver the news. Like they had him say like
Oh yeah.
Maggie had an accident. And
Hmm.
then he was like step out in the hallway and yeah, just delivered it so bluntly. But yeah, he said that she fell out the window, but he did know that there was a possible he suspected foul play
Yeah.
cuz later on he bags up the hammer and he says, a possible murder object. Um suspected murder object. So he does definitely suspect it and then he like sees the little footprints in the flour
Hmm.
and she is like he asks her, "Do you know what this is from?" And she of course says no, and he basically insinuates that maybe Andy did something. And she freaks out on this notion and is just like, absolutely not. How dare you suggest such a thing? And
Yeah.
then
It's like he
basically
thinks,
kicks them all out. Sorry. And I was like, she was like, I want to go to sleep. And I was like, you're just going to go to sleep with a giant hole in your window?
right?
But
She's
that
she's got
was
she's got to
just me.
work. She's got to open the next day.
Yeah, she probably does.
No, but also it was also like the way he was just like, he kind of brings Andy up as a suspect, and he's like, but of course, like, I've already, checked his footprints and they don't match and
Yeah,
whatnot.
none
But
of the shoes match, but he didn't think to check the ones on his feet,
on whose feet?
on Andy's feet, because later on, remember, he goes, "Let me see those
Yeah,
shoes."
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Because
I
he's
was like,
well,
"You
he's
didn't
like,
think to check those earlier?"
right? And he notices how they have like the little like the hammer and the whatever on them
And
or
the
whatever.
gun and
Mhm. But
yeah.
then that's whenever she's like, "Y'all just need to go, get out, whatever." And then the cop, then he what comes back to try to ask if she's gonna ask him for his number or call him or something like that, and she
Yeah,
asked him
because
to
he's
leave.
like, "I don't like loose ends."
Mhm.
And so he was like, "So I need to know." And so, like, "Will you call me if you figure anything else out?" And she's like, "Absolutely not." Slams the door in his face.
Yeah. And so then we have Andy talking to Chucky, but like we don't like really. I don't. We don't hear anything because the mom comes in and she's just like, what were you saying, or who's? I forgot how she phrased it, but she's like, Chucky was. He tells her that Chucky was talking to him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And oh,
Or no, right? Because he's
but
saying that
he sees the flower on Chucky's shoes first, and
that's
before
what it
that, like,
is.
they get to
Forgot.
leave,
Yeah.
and he goes and runs and tells the detective that, like, "The flower's on Chucky's shoes," but then they just brush him off like, "You crazy kid."
Like he's
Um,
making up stories.
yeah, and then so they're like, "Go back to bed," and then that's when she slams the door on his face, and
Hmm.
Karen then hears him talking to Chucky, and she walks in and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "Charles." He says his full name.
Yeah, Charles Lee Ray, right? Charles Lee Ray. Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, I wrote it down later, but I didn't write it down here.
Yeah.
And he apparently says he's been sent down from heaven to play with him by daddy. Like the
Mhm.
daddy sent him down here to play with me. And then because she was like, "What does Chucky say?" And he tells her that, and then he goes, "And Aunt Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved." And then she was like, "What the
Yeah, she was like,
what?"
"Why would you say such horrible things?" And he's very adamant. He's like, "I didn't. Chucky did.
Chucky said that.
Chucky said it, not me." Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, trying to like, really drill it in. Like Chucky's not real. He's like made out of plastic. Like he's stuffed. Like this isn't, isn't possible. And then he's just like, okay, like you're upset because of Aunt Maggie, huh? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. And he's like, all right, I won't make up any stories anymore. Which he wasn't, but I think even as a little kid, he realizes like, okay, like I guess I'm gonna get in trouble for this shit.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
causing my mom distress and stuff,
mhm,
so but then we kinda cut to the next day after she gets him to bed, and,
mhm. We're at
then
school, right?
yeah, and he brings the doll with him to school, she drops him off, and then as soon as she walks away, he walks right back out and sneaks
Right.
out of the school and gets on
Which
a train.
How? He's like 6.
Yeah, I
I guess it's
know.
the '80s, so
Yeah, and he's just walking around. This was filmed in Chicago, so I'm assuming it was based in Chicago as well.
yeah,
With the like walking around inner city Chicago with a doll is like insane as a
yeah,
little kid, like as a 6-year-old. But it was the 80s, so shit like that happened all the time.
right? I feel like it was a different period. Nowadays, like,
I
yeah.
walked around. I've told you how I taught my brothers to swim, right?
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
were, like, 5.
Yeah, I was 6, and I walked
Okay,
around
yeah.
inner city Dallas, like, down to the pool to, with a 4 and a 6 or 4 and a 2-year-old and, like, went and taught myself how to swim,
That's wild.
and that was so that would have been 90 what, 90 what is math? That would have been 2000
Yeah,
if I was 6.
that's really crazy. Wait, but, like, no, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't discuss that on air.
My mom is at work.
Like, who is watching you? Like, who
Yeah,
there's
no
somebody
one. I
supposed
was
to
the
be watching you.
babysitter.
Okay.
I was
Well,
apparently grown up enough to watch my brothers
but
at
then I'm
that
like,
age.
how far was that? Like, how did you walk there? Like, how far was it, like, relatively, like
I felt like it was kinda close, but, like, still,
I mean,
like,
but
just,
still,
like
for you to be little kids, that's wild.
yeah, walking around with a 2 and
Mhm.
a 4-year-old and, like, I must have just left my brothers up on the little shore thing while I, like, walked into the shallow end and, like, taught myself how to swim
Yeah.
at 6, which is so dangerous, like, I could have drowned. I could have drowned my brothers, like
I was like, you die, and then, like, your brothers are just there, like, "Who's watching these kids?" But then, like, they get stolen, and then they're kidnapped, but then, like yeah. That
Maybe
gives
they're
me,
not
like
even my real brothers. Maybe I
they
kidnapped
were
them.
switched they were switched at that
Yeah.
one day. No, that's, like glad nothing happened, but it's giving, like, those that's giving, like, a episode of something, like a
Yeah.
CSI or something or some crazy movie.
Yeah.
But we have, Andy, like you said, he walked right out of that school and he's on a train and he which also, how does he get on a train?
I know, why did no one
How
stop
do
him?
how does he get on a train?
Does he have money for a
Exactly,
ticket?
how did they like, do they I don't even yeah. And so he's somehow on did Chucky do it? Like, maybe he's
Chucky was
helping?
like, "Hey, I need 2 tickets."
Yeah, I don't know. And but anyways, and this whole time, Chucky's kind of talking into, um Andy's
Andy's
ear,
ear.
kind of instructing him kind of on what to do, and we see this because, whenever they get off the train and they're, like, kind of, like you said, navigating Chicago, we're coming to, like, this kind of area, and Chucky tells him where to cross and come to, and then they finally get to, Eddie's house, which is in not the best area whatsoever because we've already
Uh,
cut through, like, some, like, unhoused people, like, cuddled together and, kind of Looking like they're in the rough side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's this 6-year-old boy just walking through it, and
Yeah.
he sits he sits Chucky down and just
Trucky?
Trucky
Tru
sits Chucky down and is like, "I have to tinkle." And so
Mhm.
he goes pee, and Chucky ditches him so fast. He's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, bye," and walks into, the house where Eddie lives, and it is rat filled, and then
Pretty
he
gross.
yeah, blows out the pilot light or like, the little thing in the oven, and then
For the
turns up
gas,
the
yeah.
gas, and, then that wakes he does something that wakes up Eddie, and Eddie, like, starts coming downstairs, like, gun wielding and, like, ready to shoot, and then does shoot a few times. So Andy then,
Mhm.
once he can't find Chucky, starts running towards the gunshots, and I'm like, "No, you're 6. Don't run towards that sound."
And he's like, "Chucky, Chucky, where are you?" Like, looking calling him for
Mhm.
him. And then yeah, and meanwhile, homeboy is just shooting up in the house, because he's just, like, paranoid.
Yeah, and
And
then
then
he opens up the kitchen door and shoots into he hears, like, a laugh behind it or something,
yeah,
and shoots into the kitchen and successfully blows up the entire house, and, somehow Chucky got out of there,
yeah,
um,
totally made it.
but made it out unscathed and was totally fine, and then they find Chucky and Andy over there, I guess, because then the next thing we see is Karen walking in to the police station, and
Mhm.
she is freaking out because she's like, "Well, what's going on? What's going on?" And they're like, "Well, come with us." And then they show her to Andy. And so she's, of course, like, "Andy, my baby." And
Yeah,
then he starts being like Andy's looking real suspicious at this point because now he's been in the place
is
with
it
2 murders.
2 crime scenes for
Yeah.
real.
And it's like, you understand how this looks, right?" And then he is like, "No, it's Chucky who did it. Like, start talking, Chucky," and starts
Looks
beating him
even
up.
worse. "Why are you telling lies and getting me in trouble?" Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not looking any good for him at all, even now, and mom is just like, doesn't know what to do, and the cops are just like, he's gotta, there's a hospital where he can go to, where he can get all the help he needs, because they think he's just a little, a little special at this point. He needs some extra attention.
Yeah.
Um,
They think
uh,
he is gone
off the deep end.
off the deep end, lost his rocker, lost
Mhm.
his marbles off his rocker.
So, unfortunately for mom, this is probably not the best time. She is dealing with a lot. Um, Shitty job, no husband.
It's like
Seems
that
like
one Reba
her
song.
child, yeah,
Think of
her
mine,
child's
what
got a
you
doll
done.
who's possessed. But at this point, from her perspective, it's just like, my child's got schizophrenia. Dear
Yeah,
God, what am I going to do now?
he's going
Um,
cray cray.
Yeah, and, she loves him, and so at this point, she goes back home,
Yeah,
she's
she
at
goes
home.
back home and she basically starts yelling at Chucky too. She's like, "Speak,
Mhm.
damn it!"
Yeah, she's like,
And
"God damn it, like, you better
say
fess
something.
up."
Yeah,
Mhm, and she's like,
and
"Okay, you don't wanna say anything."
she
Mhm,
goes and looks at the box, and at this point, I was thinking she was gonna read, like, the phrases he normally says and, like,
yeah,
realize that because I forgot, but, like, realize that one of them is not a phrase he's been saying or something,
yeah,
and then the batteries fall out, and so now she knows the doll is alive, and she goes back to him and checks his battery box and sees that it's empty, and his little head turns around on a swivel, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?" And then
she
so she
freaks out.
screams, yeah, drops
Mhm,
him under the
mhm,
couch, and she, like, pulls him out ever so slowly and is like, what is going on? And then she's like looking at him and she's like, I said, talk, damn it. Talk to
Yeah.
me, damn it. And then
Um,
she's like, I'm gonna put you in the fire if you don't.
yeah, and she's getting the whole little blaze started. She's about to get it going, and as soon as she's about to get him into the fire, um, he can you hear that?
Yeah,
Okay, let's go
it's
to
okay.
say.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now, with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business IT, HR, and more so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
You've maxed out your 401k, you're contributing to an IRA, and making some other investments. You're ahead of the game and doing well. But where do you go from here? The same old story can only get you so far. If you want a new take from a new type of financial professional, we invite you to get a fresh perspective beside an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, investments, retirement, and more. Visit nyl.com to learn more. Investments are offered through registered representatives of NyLife Securities, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC, a New York Life company.
They're barking at the wind, probably.
Oh yeah.
Is it windy over there, by the way? It's so
Oh my
fucking
god.
windy over here.
I thought our house was gonna fall apart last night. I'm such a heavy sleeper, and I woke
Mhm,
up and somehow Andrew stayed asleep the whole time. But
mhm.
like I was just up and I was like, what the fuck is going I thought the house was like I thought we were in a
Dude,
tornado. And then I had
yeah,
a
it's
dream that we were in a tornado. And then I had a
not
dream
fun.
that logs came through my car and then
Yeah,
like conveniently went all around my head. And I like just survived getting impaled. It was wild.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's pretty bad right now.
But
Which
yeah,
I'm
it's really
so
windy here too.
oh,
Driving
yeah.
home, my car was like getting whipped all over the place.
Hi, mama.
Suki, say hello.
Beautiful kitty. Um, but yes, she almost gets him into the fire, but before she can, he like, he's like, "I'll show you to fuck with me" or something like that. Like he goes off on her,
Yeah, and he
and
starts attacking her.
oh yeah, like off the like going crazy berserker mode on her, like Wolverine, meow, and just starts attacking her. He's so feisty, he's vicious, and it's so funny because at one point she's just kind of like just holding his little body, and the camera pans to his little legs, just kind of like trying to kick her in the boob. Yeah. And then she like throws him at one point across the room, and then he like is like coming towards her, but then he like runs, I guess, to like go out the door. And so now we have a whole chase scene where the mom is chasing after Chucky, and it's like they're getting through the whole apartment. Then he finally gets outside, and then at that point she's like, "Well, got to go find the detective." And so she goes and finds the detective,
But of course, he doesn't believe her.
brushes
And
her off, obviously, because I mean, at this point, even she had been brushing it off.
yeah,
Um,
but like I feel like
and
I'd be more inclined to believe an adult a
yeah,
little bit. I would
right?
be like, "Oh," and then especially once she shows him the bite. And he's
Hmm.
like, "How'd you get that?" And she's like, "Chucky did it." And he's like, "Okay, lady, go
Yeah,
back inside." And
but
it's
you
like,
know,
"Come on, listen a little."
but like that's the story. They've already been kind of dealing with it. He already hasn't believing it. She's a woman, so
Yeah.
like he's just like I've got bigger things to deal with, I guess, at this point because it seems like also like she just found him like randomly on the like what was he even doing there? But anyways,
Yeah, she just
um
found him randomly on the side. I think
right,
maybe
she had
she
been running
like
looking around for a while, I guess,
I
or
think I think maybe he was coming out of the, like, detective agency,
oh,
and
okay.
because she, like the car pulled up there, like, I
Uh
think she just happened to catch him on his way out, is what I think happened.
and then so that happens, he brushes her off, so then she's just like, okay, I guess I have to take matters into my own hands. So she goes and she tracks down the person that she had bought the Chucky doll from.
Yeah, and he's, like, warning her, like, "That's not a good part of town, like, you shouldn't go there," And then she just like isn't listening, gets in the
Oh
car.
yeah.
And so thankfully he comes after her because fucking the man like
Yeah. He tries
tries
to
to
SA
assault
her.
her.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then she like he punches her and he's like, "Where'd you get that doll from?" Or she is like that. And we find out that he got the doll from a toy store that was burnt out. And so then yeah, he tells her
Yeah.
or tells him, and then he drops him. And then she's like, "Well, what happened? Something he said triggered something in you." And she finally gets him to confess that like Charles Lee Ray died there.
Mhm.
Um
And
and
she's like, "Why wouldn't you have told me, why didn't you tell me any of this?" And he's just like, "Well, like,
I didn't think that was
he's
related.
he's dead, like, I killed him, so, like, it's, at
Yeah,
that
and
point, I
he's
guess
like,
it's
"It's not something you just go around saying."
yeah." Um, and then, at that point, she's, telling him, like, "Well, you need to help me figure this out, like, you don't like loose ends, don't you?" And then that's whenever he's like, what does he say to her? He's just like, because she's like, "He's gonna be after you, like,
Yeah, she's
Eddie's
trying to
dead."
warn him that Chucky's
Yeah.
gonna kill him, and he ignores her, and he's like, "I'm sane."
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like and
And he's like, "I'm going home, like, I'm gonna go to sleep."
yeah, and
Mhm.
so he drives off, but and I just like after hearing Charles scream that shit and like the voodoo
Mhm.
language and like seeing the lightning bolt and stuff, I don't know. I would have been a little more believing.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay, wait, something maybe is going on here, especially after having learned that he got the doll from that. Like,
The person, John Bishop.
yeah. And
Or
so,
no, I mean, from the shop where he
yeah,
got
yeah,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah. That guy,
And
yeah.
so I don't know, but he still doesn't believe her. He drives off and goes back to the agency and gets the like case file for Charles Lee Ray and gets
You see this bag?
yeah.
Full of candy.
Candy, give me one. Uh
Me and Jaden spent, like, $50, like, in candy at the
on
candy store.
candy.
Yeah. Well, because you don't realize until it's up there and you're like, "Oh, shit, I guess that is about $50
You
worth."
got gummy sharks?
I do, of
I
course.
love gummy sharks.
These are my favorite. I got gummy sharks, 2 different kinds, and, they're sour.
Oh, yum.
Mhm. But anyways, continue.
Yummy. But yeah, so he goes back, gets that case file, then gets back in the car, and lo and behold, Chucky's in the back seat. He comes
Mhm.
and he puts a rope around Detective Norris's neck and it or like a jumpstart cable or something. He's choking him out basically. And he's like, "Die, bitch." And
Yeah.
then um Chucky starts, is really kind of killing him. And then thankfully he has the smart thinking, Norris has the smart thinking to get the cigarette lighter
Mhm.
and burn Chucky's face. So that knocks Chucky down, and then then Chucky starts stabbing through the fucking seat and is
Yeah.
like, "Ugh," and then at one point it comes up right between his crotch, and I was like, "Oh, could you
That would
imagine
have been
getting
bad.
stabbed in the penis?"
I don't want to.
Ugh, that must have hurt so bad. But
Mhm.
thankfully he didn't. He like is able to avoid all the stabs in the seat. He's like moving all around, lifting his butt up and stuff. Um,
Tink, 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 tink.
tink tink. And
Mhm.
then quite literally tink tink. And then Chucky grabs the fucking pedal to the metals this shit, and makes the car flip over and crash. And then he like in once he comes to and everything, he shoots at
Yeah.
Chucky, but he's kinda stuck in the car, and then
Can't get out.
Chucky, like, stabs right next to his face, but doesn't stab him for some reason.
I think he did it on purpose to fuck with him, maybe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but does that and,
Mhm.
gets out of the car, is kinda making circles around the car, comes
Yeah.
and grabs the knife again, And then that's when he's going to like charge him, and he shoots him successfully in the chest, but on the right side of his chest, not the
Yeah, so
left
it's not as
side,
hard.
not his heart.
So Chucky takes off, and then that's whenever we cut to mom, and she is now found Charles Lee Ray. Charles Lee Ray Lee Ray Charles Lee I can't say it. Charles Lee Ray's
Charlie
lair.
Charles Lee Ray, yeah, his house, and
Mhm.
she's being the ultimate sleuth.
Mhm. Yeah, she really has taken into her own hands, and she's looking around, and already from the get-go you can tell like he was already into, you know, uh,
Some weird occult shit.
yeah, I don't know I mean, I don't know if it's voodoo necessarily or what, but it's something, and
They
it's
say
the
voodoo later, I
mhm,
think.
right?
Um, yeah, but
And
I
they end up using a voodoo doll at some
they use
point,
a
so
voodoo doll at some point, yeah, so
mhm,
I think maybe that's where I was getting voodoo from. Um, but yeah, and then on the wall it says, "Thank you, mighty Damballa, for life after death."
mhm. So, we already know that he was kind of studying, seeking, playing with this shit before all of this even happened. So,
Yeah,
technically, I guess this was kind of like his backup plan in case
mhm.
he were to, like, get found out by the cops or, anything were to happen to his physical form. And so, the mom's looking at finding all this, and then at the same time, we have Chucky going to John Bishop,
Yep,
right? Mm.
and detective, like, sneaks up on her basically and is like his nickname was
Oh, that's
Chucky,
hilarious, yeah.
and he
Mhm,
spent a lot of time with this man and
mhm.
John, and that's how we get introduced to John, but then, yeah, Chucky's going to see John, um, and John is not happy when he sees what he's done.
No, not at all, because Chucky's kind of just appears the little window, and then he's, like, telling him that, "Hey, you helped me out, but I got shot last night, and it actually really hurt, and I'm actually bleeding, so what's going on?" And John is explaining like, "Well, you are actually an abomination, and you are becoming more human the more time you spend in that little doll body. So
Yep,
basically, like that wound is becoming fatal and mortal to him."
yep, and he says, "You
Mhm,
perverted everything I taught you and used it for evil."
mhm.
And
And you
then
must die, like you must,
yeah, I must right this wrong, and Chucky is not a fan of hearing that.
no, nope.
Sorry, the
It's
cats
okay.
are messing with the blinds.
And he's like, "I prepared for this," and so he ends up getting a voodoo doll out of John. He's like, "Bop!" Starts just like breaking limbs,
Yeah, he's like,
trying to get
"Here,
information from
how would
him.
you like this if I just broke your leg?" And so he breaks his leg and, um then starts like he, like, kinda stabs him or something and
Yeah.
or breaks,
Mm,
like, his ribs or something, and it finally gets John to talk, and he says, "You have to transfer yourself into the first person you revealed yourself to." And
mhm.
so he's like, "Great, I get to be a six-year-old again." And
It's the way he said
he
it. He's like, uh, what is he? He like ends up stabbing John, and he's like, "Now I gotta go find me a little 6-year-old boy or something."
yeah, he says, "Now I have a date with a six-year-old." And then he goes, "And you have a date with death," and kills
Yeah.
John. Or
Right.
stabs John.
So,
Um,
mhm,
but then the detective, Norris, and Karen get there, they find John dying, the phone lines have been, like, cut, and then
mhm.
he is warns them to stop Chucky,
And
and
he
he's
tells
like,
them
"His
exactly what
heart
he's trying to do.
is
Mhm.
almost human. It's the only way through his heart."
Yeah. So, thankfully, they now know how to get rid of him. But first, they got to find him.
Yep.
But Chucky is on his way to go find Andy.
Yep, and Andy is in the little psychiatric hospital again,
Mhm.
and Chucky's creeping up on him, and Andy's like crying that Chucky's going to kill me. And like, this is where I wrote good acting from Alex Vincent, who
Yeah.
played Andy. And the moment he slides down the door, um, Alex Vincent was his name, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I was like,
Um,
but
but it was really good acting on his part. And Chucky sneaks into the control room, sees that Andy's in room number 7 and steals the keys for that. And then but Andy is a little sneaky though,
Mhm.
because he puts his pillows under the blanket and Chucky gets up on the bed ready to stab it, pulls it back, the um sees that it's the pillows, and he's
The
like,
pillows. Mhm.
"What the fuck?" But Andy sneaks out in this moment, but he should have closed the door behind him and locked him in. But then I guess the windows were big enough for Chucky to just slip out of anyways. So, because that's
He
what
would
he
have
ends up
found a way.
doing,
Yeah.
because he ends up leaving through the windows.
Yeah.
Um, and then so Andy's running off. The doctors are like, "Get back here."
Mhm. And they're all like running around looking for him, trying to get him, and he ends up in a one of the rooms. And this is whenever Chucky comes in, and he starts to um he tries to attack Chucky attacks him, but then Andy's able to get away from him.
Yep. And
But
then
then the doctor comes in and then
yeah,
tries to
and
sedate Andy.
yep, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna sedate him?
I was like,
No."
poor Andy, because he's just like getting it from every direction.
Yeah,
Like,
and
everybody's enemy right now.
he had the scalpel in his hand, so that's why they're like, "We need to sedate this kid." And
Yeah.
he drops the scalpel, and then Chucky picks up the scalpel, and
Mhm.
he then goes and stabs the doctor in the leg. And then once he falls to the ground, he puts on that little electroshock therapy
Therapy. Mhm.
helmet on his head, although it's not therapy at all.
No, no.
It's outdated and
Squelcha.
torture, yeah. Haribo.
Strawberry banana.
Oh, yum.
Mhm.
Um, and puts that electrocution helmet on his head and just fucking zaps him to death. And it's horrific. Like
Mhm.
the way his face burns and then the blood coming from like all his orifices.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. I was like, damn,
Was
good
not
job.
meant to be the way I would want to go out.
No, it looked so painful. And then he then escapes, Andy escapes, and then that's when Detective Norris and Karen show up,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Where would Andy go?" And Karen says, "I've always told Andy to go home if he was in trouble."
Mhm. 'Cause there's a key under the doormat.
Yep. And
Mhm.
so then they start getting home, and Andy makes it home, starts sorry, barricading the
Mhm.
doors, and then this older couple gets into the elevator, and this part made me laugh so
Yeah.
hard.
For real though, because there's like, "Oh my god, someone left the doll," and the old guy's like, "Leave it because whoever left is gonna come back for it." And she's like, "I guess. Oh, what an ugly doll."
Yeah, ugly doll.
And
And
then
he's
what does
like,
Chucky
"Fuck
say?
you, bitch,"
Yeah.
or something like that. Like
Yeah, he's like,
he
"You fucking
retaliates.
bitch."
Yeah, you
Yeah.
fucking bitch or something. And
Mhm.
poor Andy's like, boarded up the house, and he goes and hides in a closet, and he finds a baseball bat in there. And but somehow fucking chumney Chucky comes
Chumney.
in through the chimney. Chumney.
Yeah, like Santa. Santa
Yeah, he
Claus.
comes down and he's like, "Woohoo, Merry Christmas."
Mhm.
And he's ready to kill people.
Yeah, he's ready to go ham, especially on Andy.
Yeah,
And,
he needs to
well,
get his little body to become him.
mhm. And so he's in there. It's like I think I wrote like, "Oh man, this is the millionth like chase scene of this movie." Um, but he's chasing Andy around, And then that's whenever they're going like back and forth through the house. And then at one point, I just thought it's so funny because Chucky's like a batter up, and he just fucking whacks Andy with the fucking bat in the back of a head, in the back
Yeah,
of his head.
because Andy dropped the bat after he, like, swung at
Hmm.
Chucky, and it was like, "No, why would you do that?"
Hmm.
And then, yeah, Chucky knocks him out. And there was cool first person POV as Chucky runs throughout the house,
Hmm.
which I
Hmm.
thought was cool. And but then as Andy's unconscious, Chucky starts the chant and the clouds start forming and everything is happening and he's like saying all that voodoo
Jumbo.
words. Yeah, and um then thankfully the detective and Karen show up right in the nick of time
Yeah.
to knock him off of Andy, but then the detective gets stabbed in the leg as he's like trying to wake or find Chucky or whatever. And then he gives
Hmm.
Karen a gun. He's like, "Here, take this." And I was like, "Ah." Oh, and but thankfully she knew how to use it because she was a good shot.
She did. She was. Thankfully, which comes in handy. Although later on, though, it's just kind of like, just do the heart.
Yeah.
When they're just
Yeah.
taking out bits and pieces of them. But yeah, she's a good shot. And then
So I probably wouldn't even be able to hit the doll though. So I'm like, damn, she did
mhm,
pretty good. Like, and
yeah,
especially when she knocks off his head.
yeah, and it goes rolling across.
Yeah, I was like, "Nice," and then I was like, "Oh,
Uh,
wait," because then he keeps walking. Sorry, I'm
uh,
getting ahead,
but
but
yeah, but because at this point, the shot at him, he kind of goes flying back, but then he's attacking her again because then he needs to. She's trying to put him in the chimney, right? And Andy and her have to both get him into the little chimney.
yeah, because the gun
Mm,
jams, yeah, and
mm,
and
mhm,
then they lock him in the fireplace and set him on fire and or, like, about to, and then Chucky goes, "We're friends to the end, remember?" And then fucking Andy goes, "This is the end,
mhm.
friend." And I was like, "Mic drop." Like
Bam.
then he drops the, match in there, lights him on fire, they burn him to a crisp, and the detective comes to, and they think that they've killed him,
Yeah,
but then Chucky's gone, and then he trips Andy, and he's like, "Hello, Andy," which, this was a nice reference to, like, the Terminator
mhm.
a little bit.
I didn't
And
know
then
that.
we did just like when the Terminator is like burnt to a crisp and like he has like one eye that's like showing and that's what Chucky had.
Mm,
So um
that's I've never seen The Terminator, so
oh
don't hate
yeah,
me.
I'm pretty sure it felt like a reference to the Terminator. And then they for sure reference The Shining
Oh, yeah.
whenever he starts stabbing through the door and stabs Karen and Karen's face is there next to the door and then the like knife is coming through right there as she's screaming. It was like for sure a reference to The Shining.
I agree.
Um and he's like, "Give me the boy."
Yeah.
And then she shoots him and then blows his head off and then an arm and a leg, but then I'm like, "But you got to get the heart."
He's still just crawling. Mhm.
Yeah,
He's
she
still
shoots
trying to
him
make
in the
his way.
chest twice, but not in the heart, apparently. Because I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, she shot him in the like, she got a kill shot in, like, double tap."
He just won't
And
die.
then, yeah, he's like Michael.
Mhm.
But,
And then that's whenever, old Cyclop comes in, right?
yeah, the partner comes in, and he's like, "Don't touch it. Don't touch
Yeah.
any part of it."
Yeah, because he was just like, "Who was it? What wasn't?" They were like, "It was Chucky. It was
It
the
was the
doll."
fucking doll.
And he's like, "When am I supposed to tell people? How are they gonna believe me?"
Yeah, and so
Mhm.
he picks up the head anyways,
Mhm.
and then is, like, slapping it and stuff on the
Yeah,
head.
because 'cause they're freaking out, and he's like, "This thing is dead. What are you talking about? It ain't gonna do nothing." And then his other little half of his body just comes through.
The air vent,
Yeah, which
and
how
it
did he even
chokes
get
him.
there
Yeah, I
that
know.
fast?
Like, how did he get into it? I don't. Too many
With one
questions
arm and
with
one
one
leg.
arm. Yeah, and he's like yelling, "Kill them all!" And
Mhm.
then finally they shoot him in the heart and blood goes everywhere, and then we get a little, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?"
Aw.
But, like, as his voice is, like, shifting from Charles back into Chucky, like,
Mhm.
good guy's voice, and Andy starts to approach Chucky, and then his mom comes back in, leads him out of the room, and he looks back over his shoulder, and that's the last scene of the movie.
That's that.
And it's like, "Ding, ding." It, like,
Mhm. And then we
pauses
get, like,
and
Christmassy '80s synth music,
yeah,
horror music, yeah. And that's Child's Play, you guys.
Child's Play, 1988's Child's Play.
Um, yeah, I'll go ahead and get into it. I wasn't mad at it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I thought it was funny. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was it wasn't scary, obviously, because it's a little doll. And honestly, Chucky has never scared me because it's like you could literally kick him across the room. Like
I mean,
how
he is kind of a big doll.
but like still, like I
And
know
he
you
moves so fast with his little feet.
mhm. Does he have like supersonic speed or something like that?
It seems like it. Every time he's
Oh
running, he looks
wow.
like he's moving real fast, and I'm like, "Ooh." His little pitter patter is, like, so fast, and it
Mhm.
that kind of freaks me out.
I think also you have more of like respect for dolls, or I don't know, like I don't
Yeah,
know, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Like,
I
I'm
don't
aware
know.
that Beatrice could kill me at any moment if she wanted to
Yeah,
with her little
yeah,
porcelain hands.
but overall, yeah, I thought it was like a really interesting story. I thought like obviously like we have like a like what we have a possessed doll situation. We've seen that story before. Never seen it really in terms of like, you know, the toy going into the child and then, he's like, playing with it essentially. Um like for I guess in terms of like I guess we have Annabelle now, but like, this came out in 88, right? I believe.
88, yeah.
88, yeah. So um yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it, but I also don't have like a lot of good things to say about it, if that makes sense as well. Because
Yeah,
it also kind of gives like, um, I guess probably they didn't realize how big of a success it was going to be when they first made it, obviously, right? Because we don't have like too much lore or background on like any of the like Charles stuff. It's kind of like it almost like it give like I almost feel like this would be like a movie if we would have already had, like, a movie before this one, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Like, with some background on, like, Charles, maybe, like, a whole situation, like, showing how he became, like, the Lakeshore Strangler and all that jazz and learning all the voodoo and then going into that.
yeah.
Um, but, overall, like, the acting was good by Andy. I mean, the detective and the mom, like, it was pretty, like, run of the mill. It wasn't, like, anything crazy. But I would give it probably, like, 3 stars.
3 booths?
3 why am I doing that? I did that the last time too. 3 boos. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna give Chucky 3.5 boos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it 3.5 boos. I also give it to him for his tenacity, because Chucky
Chucky's?
don't quit. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chucky don't quit. And
No,
he's creative, he's feisty,
he was
he's got
creative.
a good sense of humor.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I like that.
It was a
Okay,
good
go ahead.
time.
Go ahead.
Okay, some fun facts.
Unpack me.
Despite their long-running collaborative effort to bring Chucky to life, voice actor Brad Dourif and special effects wizard Kevin Yeager never met in person until they were both guests at a horror convention in May 2018.
Oh, wow.
So, like, 30 years, 40 years later? What is that? I don't know math.
40. Okay. 98, 08, 18,
30.
30. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Catherine Hicks, who played Karen, and Kevin Yeager, Chucky's creator, met on set and were married a year later.
Oh, cool. That
Yeah.
rhymed.
Creator later.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the studio billed Chris Sarandon as the top star over Catherine Hicks, but Sarandon requested that Hicks be the top billed since he felt she carried the picture.
That's cool. That's nice. I mean, very true, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah, she
agree.
did carry. And she had more to
Uh,
do.
I'm not sure what this one means. It says the My Buddy doll line has never recovered from the first Child's Play movie. I feel like they left something out of there.
Was it I think was it already a doll line?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the My Buddy doll line has never recovered from the first Child's Play. Yeah, even though I think it was like this one was
Yeah.
called
It
Good
was
Guys
it ori-
Doll.
it w- it started in 1985, the
Oh,
My Buddy
yeah.
doll. So,
Poor poor franchise. And then last one. Oh, maybe 2 more. Uh During the initial release, a crowd of protesters formed around the entrance to MGM calling for a ban on the film. They claimed it would incite violence in children. Local news reporters were broadcasting live from the scene, and the producer David Kirshner was watching, disturbed by what he saw. Jeffrey Hilton, who worked with Kirshner at MGM, said he could defuse the situation in 10 minutes. Hilton went down and spoke to the ringleader, and then the group disbanded. To the chagrin of the newscasters, Hilton never specified whether it was threats or diplomacy that saved the day. And
hmm,
then the film was released on the same date, November 9th, 1988, as the opening scene when Charles Lee Ray transfers his soul into the doll.
well, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Excuse me.
And then yeah, that's it. The toy shop. Oh, this one's kind of interesting. The toy shop used in the opening scene was actually a Chinese restaurant that closed down in Chicago on the corner of Wabash and Van Buren. Chris Sarandon even says the name of the street corner when calling for backup.
That's cool.
A little old Chinese restaurant
Repurposed.
repurpose,
So there
but
was the My Body doll, and his tagline was "He's a real pal." And then he had a little sister, and her name was the kid sister. So it was My Buddy and kid sister, and she was kid sister, a true friend. And
uh,
if you look at the My Buddy doll, it literally looks like they literally it has the same
ripped him off.
outfit. It has the same outfit. The only thing is that his hair is brown and it's not
Red.
red. Yeah.
Oh
Mhm.
man, I feel like they could have sued.
Right?
I would have.
Especially if, like maybe they probably did, maybe there was some litigation there that we just don't know of or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think just based on the cultural impact alone, I feel like I need to give this movie like a 4
Yeah.
or something. Like it hasn't really I don't know. I have nothing really bad to say about it though. Like there was nothing that bothered me about this film at all. Like it was super easy to watch. It was I mean only an hour and 30 minutes like so it's super easy to get through. Um
And honestly, it was honestly, like, from a, like, perspective of, like I think for me too is, like, it was just super believable, even also even though we're dealing with a supernatural doll, right? It was so
yeah.
grounded because the whole time, like, the cops, everybody just like, "That's not possible, like, this isn't real. That's not happening." Like, "No." Like, "What?" And it's very much like that because that would so be, like, if that were to be happening right now, like, same thing would be happening, like, and he, of course, would the doll would probably be able to kill like 20 people before people would be taking it seriously
Yeah.
in our world, you
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe even it deserves a 4.5.
I'm giving it a 4.2.
4.2. I'll give it a
I'll s
4.5 then.
I'll switch it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
check.
there's nothing that I disliked about this movie. Like it just doesn't feel like a 5, but like cultural impact wise, like I know that it deserves like all the accolades because like it
Yeah.
was the first of its
Mhm.
kind. It is, I mean, if that was happening to me in real life, I would be shitting a brick. Like maybe it feels believable because I do live with a bunch of dolls,
Mhm.
but like I'm like if one of them came to life and like was trying to kill me, absolutely not. I would be fucking afraid. I would be so scared, even though I could just probably kick them. But if they had a knife in their hand, like, what if they cut my foot when I kick them?
I don't use the broom, like, use
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't
Use my
know.
color guard flag.
Yeah. Like,
That way
there's
I have 6 feet of distance within at all time.
I don't know. Could lock it in one of the closets or something and then give
Mm.
you some time to, like, think about it and, like, come up with a plan.
Yeah, I
I
would
don't know.
it like you said, it does feel like it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. So I mean, I've had, like, encounters with my dolls before, not with them
Yeah.
moving, but with, like, Beatrice and asking her her name. Have I told you that story?
Yeah, I think so. What I
Yeah,
was trying to think of is, like, man, if someone were to tell me, like, "Hey, my this doll is moving around and it's killing people," like, would I believe it?
I would.
Right?
I would be like, "Yeah, okay, that feels possible."
Well, okay, right? Because there's the whole thing proven until, like, guilt
Innocent
innocent.
until proven
S
guilty.
Yeah, so, like, more or less, like, I guess, like, I'll believe it, I guess, until, like, someone proves to me that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I guess, well, it doesn't hurt to believe it, I guess,
Yeah, exactly.
to be safe.
So,
Rather be safe than sorry.
especially if it was somebody, like, who I
Trustworthy?
trusted, yeah,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
knew, like, if you came to me and you were like, "Your dolls are trying to kill me," I would be like, "Oh my god, they probably are."
Yeah,
So, I don't know. Yeah, I just had a good time watching this movie. It was super easy to get through. Um, I thought all the acting was great, especially from Alex Vincent, in that one
mhm.
scene that I mentioned.
Yeah. When he was in the psych ward.
Yeah, and then like, the pacing was really good. It really gets right into the action.
Yeah, it
There's not a
does.
lot of, like, slow moments in this film at all. And then, like, the burnt Chucky doll at the end is fucking terrifying
Yeah, he
when it's coming to
definitely
life. Ooh.
it's like, villain, like, whenever the villain comes back and it's, like, even badder, like, even worse, like, even, like, "I thought I was bad before, look at me now."
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's, like,
Well, and
comes
especially whenever
back
he's
even
not dying
scarier.
and, like, he's getting shot into pieces and he's not, like, stopping.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just like, what else can we do to you? Like, we've burned you alive, we've shot you, like, how are you not dead? That would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, I think
between
a 4.5 for me.
and well, my 4.2, 4.5, 4.35.
Yeah.
Okay, 4.35.
Foy foy
Boy,
4.35 blues for child's play.
and that is and then we're gonna are you down to watch the next 2?
Yes, at some point we need to cover a movie for Nikki, but I think
Okay,
her birthday may be in May.
okay. I think it is May.
I'm gonna double check.
But like always, we are being recorded by the lovely Rogue Media Network. They take great care of us,
Okay,
and
yes, it is in May, so we
in May.
can do it. We can do the next 2 Chuckies.
And you can listen to our podcast and a ton of other podcasts at roguemenetwork.com.
That's right, and if you wanna listen to us or any of those other amazing podcasts, you can do so on a slew of podcasting platforms, but the biggest 2 would be
Spotify.
and also Apple. And
Mhm.
wherever you do listen, don't forget to.
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right. And then if you want to reach out to us, let us know your thoughts on Child's Play. And or if you want us to do movies for your birthday, special birthday requests, we can do that too. So just reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
At BOOBAES podcast, because we're your boo babes, not your boo babes.
that's right.
Mhm.
And until next time, we'll be watching the Child's Play 2
Dos. In Spanish. I'm just kidding.
in Spanish. Chucky's like it's like the Buzz Lightyear situation, but it's Chucky.
But Chucky. Just
He's
gotta
like,
put him in
"Hola."
refractory mode.
I don't
That
know
is
any other
funny.
Spanish other
That's
than
really
hola.
funny.
No,
That's
I
something
know.
that
Me
I wonder if they
gustaría un
play.
café.
I wonder if that's something that they played around with when they made like international versions.
Oh yeah.
Like they should have filmed a scene like just for the international versions where he was just like little button, and then it's like konnichiwa, or it's like da da da, or yeah.
안녕하세요.
But okay,
Guten
and
Tag.
guten Tag. How do you say bye bays in Korean?
In Korean,
Yeah,
oh god, now all I can think of is German. We would say Auf Wiedersehen,
auf
babe.
Wiedersehen. How do you say
Um,
bye in Korean?
I can only think of hello in Korean. Um, oh shit. And I can only think of thank you, 감사합니다, but I can't think of how to say bye in Korean.
Bye in Korean is annyeong.
An 안녕?
Annyeong. Annyeong.
Annyeong
Annyeong.
is kind of like hello too, but I
Annyeong.
guess you could say it as bye as well.
Like bisexual?
Yeah,
Oh, like bye. I'm just
like
kidding.
bye.
Annyeong.
Annyeong.
Annyeong. Bays. How do you say bays?
Uh, Chagi is baby. Not like a baby, like you would say like to your baby, Chagi. Agi is baby.
There's no word.
So we
There's
can
no
say
word.
Annyeong Chagi.
Annyeong. What?
Chagi.
Chagi. Okay, yes, because the dogs are about to start barking. Annyeong
Okay.
Chagi.
Annyeong Chagi. Boobies.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.